Okay, this is National Chess Master Rats at chess.com, and I'm continuing my video series here that I've just begun on the America's Slow Live Chess Weekend Championship, and there's been a result. Looks like from the commentary there was a blunder here. I was saying black looked a little better when he had this knight in on d3. Let's take a look at what happened. Um, White always had pressure on b6, and now he puts a little more pressure on it, and black guards it, and he gives a check, and I guess it's here he made a mistake. King f8 was obvious, and I meant to go there, and white takes the pawn, and that's pretty much game, and then it looks like black blunders a rook, uh, and let's see what the players are saying. Um, let's see. King f8 follows e5. I guess black's going to play e5. White's not going to do that. Let's look at king f8, since that's what he intended. Okay, he's going to, oh yeah, he's got an idea here. He's going to play e5. Yeah, and he's saying if knight takes e5, bishop takes c5, and then working on a pin, but he could take with the pawn. Let's see. Maybe I would spend f takes e5. It's still complicated. Okay, yeah, f5. Someone's Skyping me too. That's probably my student that I was ignoring before. Nathan. Hey, Nathan. Uh, or less, I'm making a chess video. I had to give a lesson before this started. I got 2 demands for lessons since I've been getting here. I am very, very busy teaching chess full time. Okay, so I'm just analyzing what they say. I'm thinking black's okay here. Um, and black had plenty of time. Yeah, it's unfortunate he had a king a8 is not what I meant. I guess it's a mouse slip, or sometimes it's a mouse slip, sometimes it's not. You plan one move and you end up playing another. It happens. It's happened to me. So I'm thinking black's okay in this game. Black's definitely not winning. I don't know if e5 is the right move. It's tricky, but uh, let's see what white could try to double rooks. Uh, but black just hunkers down here, puts his knight back on e5. Now c4 is under fire. Let's try to double rook, see if we can get anywhere. Um, let's see. Knight takes c4, rook comes down, the knight comes back to e5. White might have some play here, but maybe black's okay. I'm not sure if this is forced. Now f4. So you need to take this. Got rid of some of the pressure. You can go ahead and grab this pawn now. White's got a rook on the 7th. Looks like black's okay, and I'm being Skyped again. If you follow me on Twitter, you get tweeted when a video uploads. Haha. This is to a 9-year-old kid. Okay. I got students of all ages. 7, 6, kindergartners. I've got first, second, third graders. I've got adults. I've got teenagers. Okay, so anyway, gentlemen, thanks for the game. Good luck to both of you. I was glad to have covered it. I think black was okay with correct play. I guess the culprit here is the clock. 15 minutes, you consume 31 minutes, 14 back. That's 45 minutes for 28 moves. You need to slow down. Do that in your next game. So I'm going to close this one down, and move on to what's left. Let's see. Uh-oh, wow, look at this one. Is this one over? Uh, uh, Someone's declining. Wait, way to find out if it's over is look at the clock. The clock's still ticking. So I didn't even recognize this one right off the top of my head. Let's back it up a little bit. No, that was the one with the knight. I was thinking White was doing okay, and looks like White's doing really well. I didn't think Black should lose this, so it sure looks like he's losing that final position. Uh, well, throw caution to the wind. King G4 with the idea King takes G3. Okay, cut the king off. Here come the pawns. They're monsters. White should not be winning this. Now that, like I said, this could get those pawns dangerous. They can get rolling here in a hurry. Here they go. Now, you don't have time to pick up the H-pawn. Now, it's probably a mistake to move the rook, but because White's not, let's see, is White threatening to play E6? Yeah, because if rook takes, the pawn goes to D6, and no, survive. See, if the pawn gets to the sixth rank safely, they win. That's the rule. So, E5, rook takes, D6, rook check. King moves, rook takes, pawn advances, rook C6, pick up the pawn and win. So White's losing a critical tempo with, and White won. Okay, congratulations. Let's finish this coverage of this game. I think we'll be down to one game here shortly. There's, let's see, he was making a comment, I couldn't believe C5, I missed knight D3, to be honest. So I want to get some of the player comments to these games on the video. I'll come back. Okay, let's see. So rook E8 just loses a tempo because it's time to get the king back in the game. Don't worry about winning this pawn on H4. Just play king F4, and I think Black should be okay. King D3, king E4, king C4, king E6. I'm thinking Black's okay here. So this costs a tempo, and now the king comes up, and yeah, here he's grabbing a pawn. You can't play for a win here. It's time to say, whoops, it's a draw. Now that pawn gets to the 6th, it's over. Now that allows White to push the pawn. Like, attacks the rook first. Yeah, those pawns are getting to the 6th, and it's over. They're getting there safely. Well, you could have played D6, but this should work. And now just C7 or D7, although this is fine too. Now, even if White takes, well, White can't take the pawn, he gets forked. Those pawns are just too dangerous, and game over. So see, there were some draw offers or something, I think. I think I saw something. Who offered the draw? Black declined to draw. Well, he should have taken it. Okay. But he makes a comment about it. We'll see it. I don't know when the draw was offered, but I could believe C5. I missed knight D3 check, to be honest. Where did that come up? Let's look at some of their comments here. So C5, I couldn't believe C5. Where's knight D3 check? There it is. Move 18. Where's he playing C5? What's this have to do with C5? Come on, go to that board. There you go. Okay, couldn't believe C5. I missed knight D3 check, to be honest. So maybe he's thinking Black will play C5. I'm not quite sure what he means by that. Okay, so he missed this, and White decides to part with the exchange. And I guess C5 comes up later. He played king D6 and then only then C5. So it looks like White's got some compensation because of the black pawn structure, and White has an extra pawn, and maybe black should have played to keep the queens on and not go for a simple ending. Try to open up the position with the queens on the board. Although you have to stop and defend the pawn on f5 most likely. White might get too dangerous a position if he covers that. Looks like black can, maybe white can win it, but my first impression is if black wants to try to win this, you've got to open up the board and keep the queens on. That's my impression now, knowing what I know, because black got or white got adequate play here, and maybe black missed the idea I gave of trying to get the rook penetrate, win the pawn in a3, and use the king to hold the white kingside pawns at bay. So that didn't quite happen. So he says, I should have played king d6 first and then c5. Yeah, you try too hard to win. Yeah, sometimes that happens. You try hard to win. And he says, because interesting comment he makes here, yes, but there's no point in taking the draw. Well, sometimes there is. As much as we want to win every game, we don't. Name me one player that wins every game. Ha. Unless you're really good and you've got a very weak opponent that will never improve, no one's going to win every game. So sometimes you have to take the draws. You don't like them. I don't like them. I like to win if I can too. We all do. But there were definitely chances to hold the draw. Going after the pawn on h4 just was a little too slow. And he says, well, you don't learn anything by taking a draw there. Well, actually you do. Because you take the draw and then you analyze what you would have looked at otherwise and determine if that was winning or losing. And then now the difference is you determine it was losing and you have your draw. Okay? So you're denied the practice of playing it out and finding why it loses, but that's where chess analysis comes in, where you try to prove one way or the other what's happening. So let's move on a little bit and yeah, I think the black should be holding a draw with careful play here. He can go for the one pawn, but the second one was too dangerous. Looks like all the games are over, so I'll be able to analyze them all here to their conclusion and finish this video off pretty quickly. So now the pawns are just too dangerous and he wins. And let's see if they have any more comments that are worth mentioning. Let's see. You see, once white gets his king to g4, my rook can move and I can push the b pawn. So that's one idea. Get the king over to the king's side to help the pawns. White's saying he'd be lost there. Is he? Let's see. What point is that at? It's a little earlier than that, I think. Well, I'm not sure I'm not sure black is close to winning this. The way to do it was, I think white's got adequate compensation. The way it was mentioned earlier, where black has to play for b5 and where he either plays b3 and the b file opens up, or he takes and the c file opens up, and then maybe this rook can get active, maybe. And he's saying, let's see, once my king gets to g4, my rook can move, I can push the b pawn. Okay, and he says not necessary because my knight protects the entry square h3. Well, you're not guarding g3, or unless you use your king. Let me check with an engine. Well, that's no fun. Okay, that's giving computer analysis. Computer will solve it, but it's best you solve these things on your own. So you don't use those until you're done. But anyway, it was a very interesting game. I think it was well played by both sides for the most part, but you got to know when to take a draw and then study it afterwards. So good luck to both of you next round, and I'll close this window. And now let's see. I'm going to go ahead and do this game left. or should I punish them and make them wait longer? They move. Let's see. Maybe. Yeah. I'm gonna. It's no offense, but you're gonna be last. You're gonna be last because you move too quick. Okay. All right. I'm gonna learn something from these other games. And White ended up winning this. Okay. I was saying White had winning chances. He won in this position. Let's see how it happened. Okay, there was the check, and then this went here. At first I was thinking this White didn't play this right, but I guess he did. I was saying, well, rook g8 now. Suddenly, if the rooks come off, White's got chances to get outside past pawns here. He can win the pawn on c4, and then advance a5, a6, and then h6 is a target. And it's hard for black to get this bishop in play. So I can counter on this pawn, and then suddenly White might get a new creature loose, which I think actually happened. Okay, so this might have been premature desperation. But how do you get the king to the king side? E7 is covered. I think White's strategically winning this. Bishop of opposite colors, and even pawns, but White appears to be winning. So that gives him a pass pawn, but now he takes d4 away. Maybe the key here is to play king f7 so that we either win the pawn or tie the bishop down so it doesn't come and steal this pawn. But then, White goes back to this plan. It's tough. You're going to tie that bishop down for good, and then suddenly White has a new idea. He's going to run this pawn up to g5, and suddenly this pawn becomes a threat. Yeah, White's winning. Okay, so e5. Now, maybe he should have gone to g4. Get rid of that pawn while you can. Although, White's just penetrating. Now you're not going to win the h-pawn, and here comes the a-pawn, and then he decided to resign. So I'm pretty sure that was winning for White. Well played, Chess USA 39. Close, Nabe, close. And now we'll get to the KJ Foster game that I made these Blitz players play. Wait. Okay, so let's one last thing. 43 moves. You got 22 minutes back on the increment. He spent 100 minutes on 43 moves. That's just under 2.5 minutes a move. Good job. A little too quick for White, because you spent 40 minutes plus 21 back. You spent an hour on 43 moves. A little too fast. Slow down next game. Okay. Thanks for this one. Let's see the other game, KJ Foster. This is the one I was trying to look at, and they kept playing blitz chess. When I first saw it, White was down 2 pieces for the rook, and we never did figure out how that happened, as I recall. There came this. We took each other's queens. Oh, here's where it happens. Okay. But as I recall, I thought the pawn on white pawn on e5 was a little weak. So this is where the 2 pieces for the rook are going to come from. No, not yet. Bishop d6. Saves the knight. Now White's got the 2 bishops. His eve pawn is kind of yuck, but okay, I don't know. You're trying to save the bishop and the pawn, but where does else the bishop go? Now the bishop's getting cut off. Now we try to chase the knight out. Okay, White needs to finish his development. His 1 piece developed is on c7 and not doing him much good. Okay, there's the rook in the game. Okay, now we getting ready to get the bishop out. Got to go back to d6. Now the threat is to play knight takes, followed by rook takes e5, or rook takes e3 check, or win the pawn on d6. Looks like black's going to win a pawn. Black's got 7 pawns, so does white. White didn't follow minority attack, so he does a pin. Here's how it happened. Knight takes d6, and he took on c8. You need to take on d6 right here. Pawn takes d6. Black doesn't have time to take this because you play here, or for that matter even here, and you're on both rooks. Your king's attacking the rook on e3, your bishop's attacking the rook on c8. So you're going to lose a pawn, But it's better than giving up 2 pieces for the rook. So, you know, it's just going to be down a pawn. That's all. Probably with a lost game. I guess you get a lost game either way. But this helps black. See, count the pieces. White has 2. Okay, we're not counting the kings. We're not counting the pawns. But black has 3. Black has an extra piece. It's only a matter of time before they start collecting pawns, and then a passed pawn appears, and it advances, and game over. So this is about where I first saw it, and the game when I first got here. Now black should anchor that knight in with h5. Should white have kicked it out? Let's see. g4, knight h4. Then go back to g6. Probably should have kicked it. But black doesn't play h5. White should maybe still kick it, but black's got a lot of luxuries here. Okay, so splitting the black pawns, but I don't think it's enough. Zwischenzug, now the pawn on f5 is going to fall, but white gets something back. Okay, so you got a pawn back. Let's see, white has 4 pawns, black has 5. Black has an extra pawn too. Oh, this is gruesome. Now a trick, you can't take the pawn because of knight check. Oh, there's another check. That pawn is just potent. Black's cleaning white up, and they continue to move fast. Somewhere white lost a rook. How did that happen? Pin it. Now the point is, if rook takes knight, rook d1 is mate. So he clears the flight square for his king. Here comes the check. And now I guess you got knight d5 if anything else. Oh, you're going to go here first. And now just make a queen. And that's where he lost the rook. And game over. Okay, let's see what kind of comments they made. I can incorporate those. Can we comment on here? Well, I'm not really reading the chat. I could look for it. Can we comment on here on the moves, or will the players see our comments? Well, actually, they won't see your comments. You know, they're going to make comments. I didn't really cover that. I haven't been looking for them. But during the game, I'm looking for them after. Okay, no real analysis. Anyway, this part 2 is only 23 minutes. What can I say? You want your game analyzed while it's in progress? You add me to your friend list, because I didn't get you all. If I missed you, I certainly apologize. I don't mean to miss you. But hopefully you can benefit from my suggestion. Hopefully chess.com can benefit from everyone's contributions. Thanks to all the players that are playing, to Zugzwang67 for organizing this and doing all the work to keep it running. And thanks also to you for watching my video. And hopefully your chess gets better. I have no ego. I want you all better than me. You know, I'm not the best. I never will be. But if you're all better than me, and I helped you get there, then that makes me very happy. All right. Take care. Thanks.